Hello everyone and welcome to today's session. So today what we are going to do, we are going to start chapter 1, okay, on quality control. Now, before we start the chapter, just quick announcement I just want to make that uh, chat is active. You can post your questions in the chat based on your feedbacks that we received. We have enabled the chat. You can post your questions, and as and when the questions will come, I will be taking up your questions. Okay. At any point in time, if you have any doubt, just let me know. I will be able to take that question immediately. Okay. Great. Okay, so let's start. Now, today's session, we will be discussing chapter number 1. What is chapter number 1 about? Chapter number 1 is basically on the quality control. Now, when I talk about quality control stands for, like the quality as in, CA firm, as a chartered accountant, as an auditor that we are required to provide in our audits, in our assignments, in our engagement. It may appear that quality control is just a small term, just like a quality control, but it is not the case. Quality control in itself is a very big thing that we need to understand through chapter number 1, and it's a very important part also. As a result, I would request everyone to pay attention and focus to this particular chapter. Before we proceed to the chapter, before we proceed to the contents of the quality control chapter number 1, I would like to show you a video, a discussion between an auditor and a client. A auditor and a client, they both are discussing, okay, with respect to some of the or with respect to one of the audit engagement, and let's see what they are discussing, and there will be some questions in that particular video, and we will be discussing those questions then. Okay. uh, Apologies in advance for the voice. I have a bad throat today, so apologies. Let's continue the discussion. Let me show you that particular video. Yeah. Okay.
Amit is freshly qualified chartered accountant and Neha is the CEO and managing director of Innovate Tech Private Limited.
Hi Amit. It's been ages. How are you?
Hi Neha. It's great to see you. I'm doing well, how about you? How's that business you were telling me about?
It's going well, thanks. We are really starting to gain momentum. Actually, that's partly why I wanted to catch up with you. My company Innovate Tech needs and change an auditor. And I immediately thought of you. Previous auditor was charging higher fees.
I appreciate that, Neha. But before we move forward, I need to gather some information.
Of course, of course. We believe in complete transparency. You'll have full access to all our records.
That's good to hear. I can immediately start the audit from tomorrow.
It is the third time, students. After analyzing Amit's and Neha's interaction, what should Amit have done differently? Furthermore, do you think that Amit was required to take further steps? Justify your response with references to the standards on auditing.
So guys, what do you think after seeing this particular video? Like till now, whatever they have discussed, what do you think? What was good? What was not? What something went out of the line, and what should have not been done? Come on guys. Now what? Now audible? Okay, so tell me, guys. Uh, you have seen the video. They were discussing about getting appointed. Amit said, "Okay, I will from tomorrow. I will start the audit." What is the problem over here? Very good, Vignesh. Yes. Very good, Ginny. Yes. So Neha is the auditor for the innovative tech. Oh, she is the managing director of innovative tech. Amit is a chartered accountant, freshly qualified. Now Neha wants to appoint Amit as the auditor, and Amit is ready to start from tomorrow. What do you think that they should have done differently? Anyone? What do you think that Amit should have done something differently? Yes, Jenny, very good. Okay, Vijay, very good. Yes, Priya, good. Come on, guys. Whatever you think, answer. Don't think about what is correct, what is not. Just try to answer the question. Very good, Priya. What else? Yes, Priya, very good. Anyone with some different answers? You can write in the chat. Perfectly fine. Anyone? See, if I have to provide you, what was the problem? First of all, understand that auditor should be appointed by shareholders in annual general meeting for a company. It is not like that, okay, tomorrow a managing director coming to me, you are appointed the auditor, I start the audit. No. So there are procedures that are required to be performed. One such is, before accepting the engagement, we just now saw in our last session that we need to check the compliance for section 139 and 140, communicating with the previous auditor. So let's say, for example, if someone is approaching to you, what you will do apart from whatever we have discussed, let's say checking the compliance, uh, communicating with the previous auditor, what else you will do when you are, someone is proposing you to get appointed as an auditor? Anyone? Yes, Priya, very good. Okay, Ginny, very good. Let's say a company is coming to you, we want to appoint you as an auditor. What will be your first step? What will be your first step? Now, if yes, very good, Jenny. Yes, yes, very good, Sumit. See, if we are facing the trouble to understand what should be the first step, and if let's say we are not clear, for that purpose only we have the quality control in picture. Quality control, it's not only about the audit quality, but it is about the having policies and procedures in place that you know that the firm can provide reasonable assurance with respect to that they are complying with the things. Understand with respect to the policies and procedures, understand why there is a requirement of a quality control. When I talk about policies with respect to ethical requirement, policies with respect to acceptance and continuance of client relationship, before I accept any assignment, I would check, I would perform acceptance and continuance review, that whether can I accept the engagement, whether can I continue the client relationship, is there any threat to independence, is there any threat to any fundamental principle. Communication is there, yes, no doubt. Communication with previous auditor, no doubt with that. But understand, apart from the communication, I also need to check whether I am able to accept the engagement or not. Sometimes it is very difficult to accept the engagement. Reason because it impacts the fundamental principles, compliance to the fundamental principles. Let's say that I have an interest in that company. Let's say I have a uh, some relative in that company self, or I have performed some engagement assignment in past, which is creating a threat to the fundamental principles, self review threat. And for that purpose only, we need policies, procedures, systems, so that we can maintain that quality. Are you getting the point? Any doubt till now? Any doubt? The system of quality control is designed in such a way that tomorrow, if I am accepting, sorry, tomorrow if I am accepting any assignment, any engagement, okay, be it any assignment or any engagement, it should be done with such a quality that I can say my personnel or my engagement has been complied with professional standards, regulatory requirements, or I can say that that the firm is providing a reasonable assurance that the personals which are there who are part of the engagement, or the engagement that has been performed is performed as per the professional standards, legal and regulatory requirement, or the reports which are issued are complied with all the requirements. And that can only happen when you focus on quality control, when you have that system in place which tells you what is required to be done, what is not required to be done. It's not like that, okay, someone coming to me, accept the assignment, I accept it, I'll start the audit from tomorrow. No, there has to be some things that you are required to do, and we will learn, we will understand those things throughout the session. Okay, let's continue the video, let's see further what they are discussing, and accordingly we'll discuss further.
Stu-
Just a minute. Yeah. Let's see.
Students. After analyzing Amit's and Neha's interaction, what should Amit have done differently? Furthermore, do you think that Amit was required to take further steps? Justify your response with references to the standards on auditing.
Well, about that. Could we maybe talk about your fees?
Is the sound audible? Okay, thank you. Yeah.
You know, as friends. Maybe a little discount is possible?
Ha, a discount for a friend? Why not? You are my first client and hence I can provide you 50% discount compared.
So see over here, client is asking about discount, and the auditor is ready to provide 50% discount to the previous fees.
to previous fees.
It is the third time, students. Do you think it is appropriate to provide a friend's discount?
So do you think it is appropriate to provide a friend's discount, or in this case 50% discount? Yes, Ginny, very good. Yes, Abrakraish. Yes, Sumit, very good. Can anyone tell me the standard name and the number, the essay name and the number, where we discuss all these things? Like where we, talk about the what will be the fees, what will be the, conditions of the engagement. So which is that standard that where we deal about the engagement, acceptance and continuance? I'm talking about standards on auditing. The standard where we talk about acceptance and continuance, or accepting the audit engagement. Sure, Sumit, definitely. Very good, Ginny. Yes. Anyone else? Anyone? The standard on auditing where we discuss about the engagement, like what will be the fees, what will be the resources, all that stuff. Yes, Jenny, very good. Come on, guys, quickly. No? Okay. See, there are two standards. SA 210, where we talk about the terms on audit engagement. Okay. Second is SA 220, again quality control with respect to an audit of financial statement. Over there, we again talk about acceptance and client continuous. So in these two standards, we understand, okay, what is, when we are required to agree to the terms, and what is with respect to, acceptance and continuance requirement to an audit. So let's see the video ahead, and let's see what they are discussing.
What could be the implications of such a discount? Justify your response with references to the standards on auditing.
That would be so great. I can also give you a tour of our facilities and introduce you to our team.
Excellent. I'll also need to gain an understanding of your internal control system.
Internal controls. We are still quite a small company, Amit. We haven't fully formalized all of that yet.
That could be a problem. A lack of strong internal controls increases the risk of misstatements. I understand you are still in the early stages, but internal controls are crucial. It's something we can work on together to strengthen as your company grows.
It is the thought time. Can you briefly describe the responsibilities of the auditor with respect to internal controls?
So guys, what do you think with respect to the internal controls? Is the auditor required to verify the internal controls? So is the auditor required to test the internal controls? Yes or no? Or he can just ignore? Pretty easy, straightforward. I wouldn't think that, can anyone tell me also the standard where it is covered? Yes, correct, Vignesh. Yes, Priya, Sumit, absolutely correct. Sumit, I think the standard you are referring to is different than the actual one. Very good, Sumit. Yes. Yes. No, Ginny. You're okay, Abrakesh. No, I think it's a different standard that you're referring to. Anyone else? Which is the standard where we are required to look into internal controls as an auditor? Sorry, as an auditor. No, Jimmy. It's a different standard. No, Abrakesh, it's a different standard. Come on, guys. Have a try. Give a try. Come on, come on. Which is the standard which requires us to look into internal controls of a company? Anyone? It's standard SA 315. We are required to understand the entity, its environment, and its internal controls. SA 315, remember? Or we will discuss in detail, where we will be talking about what is the auditor's responsibility when it comes to understanding of the internal controls. And when I say testing of internal controls or understanding the internal controls, yes, it is necessary. So unless and until we do not understand the internal controls that are there in an organization, we cannot decide whether to place a reliance on those internal controls or not. For example, if till the time we do not understand that whether a company is having internal controls in place, working effectively or not, how can we think of, okay, we get a comfort from these internal controls? And that's why we do less of substantive testing. How you can understand that till the time you have not understood the internal controls? Okay, so understanding the internal controls is necessary, and we will see in the coming chapter also, coming sessions also. Let us see the video further.
Also, provide the reference to the relevant standard on auditing for this.
During the audit, I'll be gathering audit evidence to support my opinion on the financial statements.
Look, Amit. I trust you completely. If you need anything signed off like a representation letter, just let me know. We can make this process quick and efficient.
I trust you and relying on your signature would be enough. I will prepare a comprehensive representation letter which you can sign, and that will reduce the requirement of my audit evidence.
Of course, of course. Whatever you need to do.
It is the third time. What is a general requirement with respect to the audit evidence when performing the audit of financial statements? Also, can the auditor rely solely on the management representation letter? Also, provide the reference to the relevant standard on auditing for this.
So what do you think, guys? Here, auditor is ready to prepare a comprehensive representation letter that he thinks that it will reduce his work. On the other hand, Neha is ready to sign on the engagement representation letter. Okay, so that she can provide the necessary documents to the auditor. Do you think it is fine in this case to rely on the representation letter? Yes, no. So Amit says that he trusts the signature of the client. He will prepare a comprehensive representation letter, and that will reduce the requirement of audit evidence. Very good, Jenny. Yes, Rakesh. So what do you think it's the problem over here? What do you think, guys? Come on. What do you think the problem is? Anyone?
Amit is trying to just substitute his audit evidence with the management representation, which is not right, because management representation cannot replace the audit evidence which is necessary to be taken while performing audit processes.
Absolutely correct. Yes.
And a management representation letter is a thing which can be prepared by management only, and it is not a letter which Mr. Amit would prepare.
Very good. Yes, absolutely correct. So, also, can anyone tell me when I say auditor requires the audit evidence, we use two terms, like, two words or terms with respect to the audit evidence that is required. Like, if I want to say I need audit evidence, so there is a qualitative and quantitative term. Can anyone tell me those things? Like, okay, what audit evidence we require as a general?
Reasonable and reliable.
Sorry, watch those break. Can you repeat again the answer? No, Nisha. There are two different terms with respect to the qualitative and quantitative part
Sufficient
of
and
the. Yes, yes, Jenny, yes. Very good. So sufficient and appropriate audit evidence. So when I talk about that as an auditor, when we will see SA 500 series, we talk about sufficient and appropriate audit evidence that we need to obtain. Okay. Now, when I talk about sufficient and appropriate audit evidence, that means the auditor has to perform some procedures that are enumerated already there. Now, based on those audit procedures, auditor is required to gather sufficient and appropriate audit evidence. Based on that audit evidence, auditor is required to place his conclusion. So I will conclude on the audit evidence that I have gathered, not on the management representation letter. And as a auditor, I have to ask some representations from the management, but I cannot solely rely on the management representation letter. Sorry. So, as a result, here just relying on the representation letter or preparing representation letter for the management is a problem, and that auditor should not do. Yes, very good, Sumit. Auditor has to perform risk assessment procedures, substantive audit procedures, and then only on the basis of that he has to conclude and opine on the financial statements. Okay, so now let us see the next part over here of the video.
The audit of financial statements. Also, can the auditor rely solely on the management representation letter? Also, provide the reference to the relevant standard on auditing for this.
Also, my office can prepare a draft of audit report for you. We need to submit the report to various investors and banks. So we would prefer that the report should be prepared in our format.
Great. I'm confident that your team will prepare an excellent report.
So here, if you see what they are talking about, like uh, the managing director is ready to help the auditor in preparing the report, and she wants to prepare the report in their format so that they can submit it to the bank, and auditor has agreed to that. What do you think on this, guys? Yes, Sumit, very good. What do you think on that part? Okay, Abrakesh. Yes, Jenny, very good. Yes, Abrakesh, very good. Can you also refer which SAM, is there with respect to the audit report? Yes, very good. Very good, Vignesh. Yes, correct. The essay is correct. Anyone else? Do you think the client can prepare the audit report in their format? Yes, no. Yes, correct. Absolutely. So there is a SA700 series that we will be seeing in the coming lectures. Okay. SA700 basically talks about, okay, uh, what should be the content of the audit report, how audit report should be, what are the key things that are required to be mentioned in that audit report. SA 701 key audit matters, 705 your modified opinion. Again, we will see a different essays in 700 series with respect to the different reporting requirements in the audit report. 706 EOM and OM paragraph. So accordingly, there are certain requirements that the auditor is required to follow when it comes to the preparation and presentation of audit report. And for that, there is a SA 700 series. And based on that only, the auditor has to issue the report. Client cannot prepare report on our behalf. No, it's auditor's duty, auditor's responsibility to prepare the report which should comply with the standards on auditing. And that's why again the question comes is, or the discussion comes is, on the quality control, that whether the report that is issued is complying with the requirements, professional standards regulatory requirements or not. In this video, we have learned about the terms of engagement, that when Neha approached Amit, he immediately decided to start the audit. Okay, so where the terms of engagement were not discussed. Again, whether I can accept the client or not, whether I can continue the client relationship, what are the terms of engagement, there is a lack of quality control. When I came to the audit evidence, again, I have not collected sufficient and appropriate audit evidence. I'm just relying on the management representation letter. Like, again, when it comes to the reporting part, there is a lag because my report doesn't comply. If the client prepares a report, doesn't comply with the regulatory requirements or the professional standards. Are you getting the point? So at each and every stage of the audit, there is a requirement of the quality control. So it's not just a quality control with respect to the documentation that you might think, okay, while preparing the audit documentation, I'm required to prepare the quality. No, it's not that the case. And it is not that simple thing that, it's just, documentation part. There are various aspects and that we need to understand. So any doubt till now, any doubt, whatever we have discussed?
So basically the quality is behind every standard?
Yes, absolutely. Any other doubts? Anyone else? Sorry. Okay. If no doubts, then let's jump to the chapter number 1. Let's discuss the requirements of quality control in detail. Okay. Now, I have the chapter again. I will be going through the chart of the quality control SQC1, quality control for firms, plus SA220. I will be also showing you the module of chapter 1 so that you should be familiar with the module. And over and above that, we will also be taking the notes so that at the time of the exam, you have something ready. You have something ready to refer to. Quick revision kind of thing. Okay. So I have module also for the quality control. That's the chapter number 1. Basically, chapter number 1 is covered or divided in 2 parts, which is SQC1 and SA220. Okay, we'll be understanding both the standards in detail. Before we go to the detailed difference or detailed understanding of SQC1 and SA220, can anyone tell me what is the difference between both of them? Why there are 2 different quality control standards? Why can't I have just one, which is there? Why there are 2 different quality control standards? What is the difference? When to apply SA220, when to apply SQC1?
Sir,
Yeah.
SQC1 is the standard for firms that are actually performing different kinds of services like audit or other assurance and related service engagements. Whereas SA220 is specifically for audit of financial statement. When we do an audit, what kinds of things we should keep in mind, that has been discussed in SA220.
Absolutely correct. Very good. Anyone else would like to answer or have a different answer? Yes, Sumit, very good. Yes, so Yogesh, correct. Yes, Jenny. So understand SQC1, when I talk about SQC1, it is with respect to quality control for firms that perform audit and review. Okay, it does not only cover the audit, It covers all the audits, reviews, and other engagements. When I talk about SA220, it is the audit, it is the quality control for an audit of a financial statement. So specifically for the audit. SQC1 is applicable to firms that the firm-wide quality control measures, quality control requirements, how those requirements are to be met. When I talk about SA220, the objective of SA220 is to provide or implement quality control at the engagement of the audit level, not at the firm level, because for the firm level, for the higher level, you have SQC1. So higher level, you have SQC1. At the engagement level, you have SA220. So two different standards for the different levels. That's why we have two different standards. Okay. Now, SQC1, as I told you, SQC1 talks about that what is the scope is the scope here is that it discusses about the firm's responsibility of system of quality control. Okay, system of quality control, the firm's responsibility. Now what SQC1 wants to achieve, like behind every standard there is a purpose. Okay, otherwise why we would need a standard? But behind every standard there is a purpose. The purpose is the objective. Like if you read the bare text of the standard, there is an objective, and that is a purpose why that standard was made. Now that standard is made so that, you know, today, how, let's say for example, I am a peer reviewer. How can I ensure that, you know, the firm or CA firm is complying with the all the professional standards, or they have, you know, they have complied with all the regulatory requirements? To ensure that, I need some evidence, I need some you know, kind of documentation, or you can say I need a kind of, you know, some base through which I can compare and I can say, okay, the firm was required to do this and they have done this. So means there is a benchmark, there is a guidelines that they were required to follow, and they have followed that benchmark or guidelines, and as of today they are complying with the quality. That benchmark, that guidelines is SQC1. What at a minimum the firm should do. Okay, clear? Any doubt with respect to the responsibility and the objective of SQC1 and what is there for the SA220? We will be going for SA220 in depth, but as of now, any doubt with respect to the objective? No. Okay, great. Now, there are elements of quality. Like I need quality at some element level. Means there are some parts or some areas where I need specific quality. I have specific quality requirements. Those are the 6 areas you can say. Okay, where I need quality. And those are leadership responsibility, ethical requirement, acceptance and continuance, human resource, engagement quality control review, and monitoring and documentation. Now, what are these particular areas, or you can say elements? These areas or elements are the you can say that in these areas I need quality for sure. There is a minimum benchmark for these areas, and I need to meet that minimum benchmark. As a CA firm, I am required to meet this minimum benchmark. There is no doubt in that. And the SQC1 provides these 6 particularly areas: leadership, ethical requirement, acceptance and continuance, human resource, engagement quality control review, and monitoring and documentation. So over these 6 areas I have to maintain the quality what is prescribed, at minimum what is prescribed. Okay. Now after understanding these areas, we need to understand what is the requirement in each of the area. We need to understand the requirement that is prescribed under each of the area of SQC1. Let's say for example leadership. Now how can I ensure there is a quality control policies and procedures under leadership, and what I'm required to do? Okay, leadership, I have a leader in my firm, CA firm. There's a managing director who's there. Then what else? So I need to understand what leadership requirement means. Whether having just a managing director or a leader in firm is enough, or I need to do something else. So in each and every area, I need to understand. So what each and every area says, let's understand that. Okay. Simultaneously, we will be taking notes also. Now, when it comes to the leadership, there are 3 aspects that we need to understand: how, what, and when. Means how to establish quality control, what to establish in quality control, and when it should be effective, or when it should be working, or when it should be demonstrating that the quality control is there. Okay, how, what, and when, that we need to understand with respect to the leadership requirement. Okay. Now let's understand the first aspect, how. Now, under the leadership, the firm is required to have policies and procedures to provide reasonable assurance with respect to the leadership responsibilities. How means by designing up or promoting the internal culture. Okay, by designing and promoting the internal culture. Now, what is that internal culture? What we are talking about? Now, internal culture means where internally they are recognizing that quality is superior. Means the leadership, the partners, the managing partners in the firm, they understand that okay, quality is necessary, and they themselves are setting the requirement for the quality. Simply means that today if a partner, chief executive officer, CEO of the firm, or managing partner, if they are casual in their act, if they are not following the quality, then how anyone else will follow the quality? In corporate terms, we say that tone at the top. If your tone at the top is not about the quality, then how the rest of the organization will follow the quality? That's why when I say how to implement the leadership with respect to the quality control is by maintaining tone at the top. So they need to design policies and procedures in such a way. Okay, they need to design policy and procedure in such a way that it should promote internal culture of quality. It should promote internal culture of quality control, of quality. Okay, and such policies and procedures should require or must require that the CEO, managing partner, leadership in a CA firm are the responsible, ultimate responsible for managing the system, for managing the quality. So they are the ones who are responsible for the quality, and that's where is the requirement of how they need to demonstrate that the work that is performed complies with the professional standards. The reports that are issued are appropriate and complied with the standards and regulatory requirement. What they are required to do, now the second aspect, what they are required to do is they are required basically to perform, to promote work that should be performed as per standards. Okay, promote work that should be performed as per standards, and encourage a culture that recognizes the quality. For example, if someone is performing the work with the quality, recognize his work, reward him for the high quality work. That is when you are the third part is a when, that is recognize when the high quality work is performed. So the three aspects, how, what, and when, you need to understand with the leadership that, okay, recognize the high quality work when it is performed while performing the engagement. Any doubt? Now, there is one more element I will add here, which is who. That is who is the responsible for this everything, leadership requirement. So, managing partner slash CEO of the firm. They are the one who are responsible. They are the one who are who are responsible to maintain leadership requirements or quality control with respect to the leadership requirements. Clear? Now this is the leadership quality control with respect to the leadership requirements. This is must. Promote work that should be performed as per the standards. Design policies and procedures that should reward or that should promote the internal culture of quality. Recognize the high quality work in the organization, and that should be done by the managing partner and CEO. Clear? Any doubt? Any doubt? Okay. If no doubt, then let's discuss further. Now, there can be scenarios when this has been assigned to someone else. For example, tomorrow firm says, okay, I have a quality control partner in my firm. So there are scenarios when you will find a separate different quality control partner. We will see that in our next example or next video. A separate quality control partner. In that case, what is the requirement of that quality control partner? Now, what that quality control partner should do? Okay, so whenever there is a delegation of the work, if the firm assigns its management responsibility, okay, now that should be considered or that should be done with respect to understanding the requirement of the quality that is required to be maintained. That person should have a sufficient and appropriate experience and ability to perform the task. So if delegation is there, then the person should have appropriate and sufficient knowledge and ability to perform the task. Okay, so whenever there is a delegation, just ensure that the person who is performing the task has that particular ability to perform it. That is with the quality control or with the leadership part. So we are done with the first one, that is leadership. So to summarize, the firm should establish policies and procedures which should promote the internal culture that is based on, that recognizes the quality. Internal culture that recognize the quality. Okay, and when at the time of performing the engagement, when someone performs high quality work in an organization, so at that time recognize him, and that should be the internal culture of the firm. Remember, we broke this down in 4 elements: what, when, how, and who. And such policies, procedures of the firm, okay, are required to be maintained, and CEO and managing director or managing partners have to assume ultimate responsibility for that. So the who part that we are talking about. So by this way, we have broken down the leadership into 4 elements: what, when, how, and who. And if there is a delegation, again, that is part of who. If there is a delegation with respect to the abilities, or if with respect to the duties, then the person should have experience and ability necessary to assume that responsibility. Okay. Yes, of course, Sumit, yes. Whether it covers articles work also? Absolutely. When I talk about quality, it covers everyone in the firm. Everyone. It covers not only partners but everyone. Let's say, for example, if there is a temporary employee, sometimes we have contractors for some temporary work. They do some temporary work. They help us in some areas. Yes, quality is applicable to them also. Any doubt with respect to leadership responsibility? Any doubt? Okay. Uh, if you want to learn in a summarize in a short way that the 6 elements of the SQC1, I have a word for you. Simple and easy word to remember. That is, I'll write it over here. HEALEME. Heal me. That is human resource, ethical requirements, acceptance and continuance, and leadership responsibility. Okay. Then you have monitoring, documentation, and engagement quality control review. By this way, you can easily remember the 6 words of or 6 elements of the SQC1. That is HEALME. I just rearranged them. Okay, but by this way, if you remember heal me, that is SQC1. 6 areas. Okay. Now, let's talk about the next area, that is the ethical requirement. We have already seen code of ethics. Now you will say we will follow the code of ethics. Done. What else? That's done with the ethical requirement. Why we need something different then? Now the question is, you will follow, okay? But if someone, let's say I am new to your firm, I don't know a code of ethics. What should I do? You know code of ethics, you know what to follow. I am new to the firm. I do not know what is code of ethics. I am not a chartered accountant. I am employee at your firm. Will I be able to understand code of ethics? Yes, no, maybe. I don't know. So at that point in time, how do you ensure that each and every employee, each and every personnel in your firm understands the ethical requirement? You are a chartered accountant, you understand that. What about others? For that, we have the second part, which is ethical requirement as a part of the quality control. Again, so you are a chartered accountant, you know code of ethics, you are good. Let's say, for example, in my exam, I did not score good at audit. I did not study. Somehow I still, I knew that the code of ethics is there, but I don't remember right now. Let's say, hypothetical example, or I'm not a CA. Okay, I'm not a CA, I'm an article. I'm doing articleship in your firm. But quality is applicable to everyone. Let's say I'm a paid assistant. I'm not a CA. I'm a graduate. How would I know what is the quality requirement? What is the quality requirement as per the code of ethics? There is no way to know. So in that case, what happens is, this ethical requirement or the policies or procedures, those are established in the firm, those becomes the guiding document or guidelines for everyone to follow. And what this says that it's not something different than what we have learned. It's on the similar lines, but let's understand. When it comes to the ethical requirement, again, I will bifurcate in 3 to 4 parts. Okay. So the first part is what people or what these policies and procedures should do. Okay, what these policies and procedures should do. The first part of the ethical requirement. So the first part is what these policies and procedures should do. Okay, okay, like what their policies and procedures should focus upon or what they are made for. They are made for so that firm by following them, firm by following these policies and procedures, by following these policies and procedures, can provide reasonable assurance. Now you will ask a question, why sir reasonable assurance? Why we have reasonable assurance in picture? Sorry. You may ask why we have a reasonable assurance in picture. Okay, reasonable assurance, something with respect to the audit. Why we are required to give reasonable assurance with respect to the quality? Reason because, as I said, you are chartered accountant, you know that, okay, this is the quality. You will follow code of ethics. But how can I understand, being a, let's say, peer review, how can I make sure, okay, that other who are not chartered accountant in your firm, your employees, are also following code of ethics, are also following ethical requirements? I need assurance, some kind of assurance that, okay, they are also following. And that is something, the firm's responsibility, that provide me that assurance, provide me that comfort that your employees are following that particular requirements, ethical requirements. And when I say that kind of assurance or comfort, I'm talking about reasonable assurance. Are you getting my point? Simple. I am a third person, a regulator, let's say, okay, or a peer reviewer. I want to make sure that each and every employee in the CA firm that I'm, reviewing has complied with the quality control or ethical requirements. The firm has to provide me that comfort. Okay, my employees has followed. They are fully complied with the requirements. Don't worry on that. I just can't, take the word like, okay, they come to me, they say me that, okay, my employees are complied and I agree. No, I shouldn't. I as a reviewer, I cannot do that. I need to have that kind of comfort by visiting the policies, by visiting the documentation, the compliance that I have done, everything, correct? It's not like just I can rely upon the word. So in that case, firm has to provide me reasonable assurance. And how they will do it? By drafting policies, by showing me, okay, we have this policy with respect to ethical requirements. Now each and every employee is required to follow this policy. See, each and every employee has followed this policy. Now I have that reasonable assurance, that comfort that yes, ethical requirement were complied. Okay, so what these policies and procedures should do? These policies and procedures should provide the reasonable assurance to anyone, whoever wants to have that level of assurance, whoever wants to, understand or wants to check that ethical requirement have been followed or not for them. Okay, so that policies, compliance with the policies and procedures should provide reasonable assurance. Clear? Regarding what? Reasonable assurance regarding what? So reasonable assurance regarding what? So reasonable assurance regarding that the firm and its personnel have complied. The firm and its personals have complied with ethical requirements. Including independence, including requirement related to independence. Okay, so including the requirement related to the independence. Now the question comes is that, okay, this is something the policies and procedures should do, but how to implement these policies and procedures? Like, what is the uh, what should be the content of these policies, or what should firm do to ensure that every employee is following that requirement, independence requirement, ethical requirement? Then firm is required to perform some things. Firm is required to maintain some things or ask their employees to do something. What is that? So we have already seen the five fundamental principles: integrity, objectivity, professional competency, due care, confidentiality, and professional behavior. We have already seen that fundamental principles. Now firm as a firm, who they are required to first of all communicate these policies and procedures. The second part comes is how to ensure. Sorry, the third part, how to ensure compliance. See over here, we are saying that they have complied. Okay, so the firm has to say that, okay, the firm and its personnel have complied. But how to ensure that they have complied? It is the responsibility of the firm to provide that they have complied. But how to ensure that? For that, what firm is required to do is first communicate. Communicate its independence requirement. To each and every employee. Okay, this is how you have to be independent. Second, identify threats. Threats to compliance to of fundamental principles. Once you identify the threat, then you need to address the threat and eliminate the threat. Okay, identify the threat, address the threat, eliminate the threat. Once you eliminate the threat, how you eliminate the threat is by applying safeguards. Okay, you apply safeguards and then, or you bring that threat to an acceptable level. By bringing the threat at acceptable level, we will eliminate, we will address the threat. Okay, by applying safeguards, we will bring the threat to an acceptable level and we will eliminate the threat and the threat to the compliance of fundamental principles. Now, first of all, understand, like as I said, the policy should, the firm should communicate its independence requirement to every employee, and they should identify the threat to the compliance of fundamental principles. But the question comes is, how to identify? How as a firm I will come to know there is a threat? Can anyone tell me that? How as a firm I will come to know that there is a threat to compliance? Anyone? Once I identify, I address, I eliminate. But before I identify, or at the time of identification, how do I, what things a firm should do to identify threat? It shouldn't be like that. Okay, I'm the managing partner, I'm the managing director of the CA firm. Okay, I'm the CEO, and suddenly I will come to know, okay, there is a threat. I need to go and check. No. There might be some things which might be, highlighting, okay, there is a threat. What are those things? How firm can identify that there is a threat to fundamental principles?
Having independence
Come
check.
on, guys. Okay, very good. Anything else? Anything else you would like to add, or any other answers?
Ensuring the compliance with the fundamental principles.
But how they will ensure, like what they will do to ensure, like everyone is complying to the fundamental principles, what they will do? Judgmental? No. There are certain things that the firm is required to do.
It requires
Today you have yes, yes, please.
evaluation of kind of relationship that we have with client and the relationship of our personals and managing team partners with the clients.
So there is specific term to this. What you call this particular thing that you just now explained?
Professional skepticism.
That is something we are required to maintain, but how to identify? Let's say, okay, we will remain alert. That is fine, but is only remaining alert sufficient for the firm to identify the threats? Some activity, some task, something I will perform. See, when I talk about audit, if I have to identify misstatement, I do audit. I do perform testing. Okay, substantive testing, internal controls, everything. Same way, if I want to identify a threat, I will do something. What is that something? Any examples? I'm asking examples, not the definite answer. And don't worry about correct, incorrect answers. No, don't. No, Monica. Judgmental is no, not judgmental. Sorry. Yes, Abhakesh. One of could be yes. Again, Vignesh. How will you check? Okay, you are saying that need to check the thread, but how will you check? We have discussed this particular part. We just now discussed in our previous video. No, rather it's opposite of that, Abhakesh. Whatever you are answering, it's opposite of that. Okay, I'll tell you. When I say I need to identify this thread, how I need to identify? I'll tell you some activities that the firm is required to do. First of all, CNA. What is CNA? Continuance and acceptance assessment. Okay, client continuance or client acceptance, kind of uh, client continuance and acceptance procedures that I need to perform to understand whether there is a threat or not. Simple. Number one. Number two, I'll ask my employees to highlight any threat they identify while performing the engagement. Means, let's suppose some employees are doing audit, and while doing the audit they understand, oh, this is the part of the same group, this client is part of the same group where we have done or we have provided any other service which is creating a self-review threat. Or you can say, while the employees were performing the audit and they suddenly come to know, oh, this person is a relative of our managing partner. There's a familiarity threat, there's an independence issue, etc., etc. So I will ask employees to highlight to me as a firm if there is a threat. I will perform client acceptance and continuance procedures when I will accept new client to check whether there is a threat or not. And the third part is annual compliance, very important. So someone already mentioned that what I'll do is I will ask annual compliance. That means I will ask all employees annually to provide a written confirmation that they have complied with fundamentals, principles, including independence. Remember, in audit, after doing audit at certain areas, we still seek management representation letter. Even though we do audit, we collect evidence, we sometimes in some areas we also opt in representation letters. Similar on here also, we'll do client acceptance continuance. We will ask our employees to highlight, and still we will ask them to confirm annually that you have complied with all the fundamental principles and independence throughout the year. So by this way, we will be able to highlight, or we will be able to identify any event or any threat that is there to the fundamental principles. Clear? Any doubt?
Sir, Abrakesh.
Yeah.
Sir, in last case, annually confirmation, I mean, what is the authenticity that employees are telling truth? They just sign, it becomes a mechanical process. How do we know, as a CEO or managing partner, that they are in fact signing this a confirmation genuinely and judiciously?
See, if I have to tell you, this is not the only way that we follow for the reliance. Okay, like only obtaining annual confirmation. No, there are other methods also, as I said, client acceptance and continuance, or there are other policies and procedures in the firm that ensure that if anyone is following that policy, then they are complying with the fundamental principles. Okay. Now, this is over and above that, the annual compliance. And why this is required? Reason because to ensure and to make that that each and every employee is responsible for the compliance with the fundamental principles. By this way, by taking an annual confirmation, it's not only the managing partner who is becoming responsible, but he is making sure that each and every employee, when they are signing that particular confirmation, they know what they are signing. They know back of the mind that they are also responsible, not only the managing partner. That is the purpose of annual confirmation, to make them understand, okay, you are also responsible. If tomorrow something is wrong, you are required to comply with the fundamental principle. It's not like that it's only my responsibility as a managing partner. Yes, ultimately it is my responsibility that my firm should comply. But if I have policies and procedures in place, if I have done all the things which is required to be done, and if still someone tries to defraud me or try to do a fraud by hiding these things, in that case, managing partner is not responsible. That personnel who is trying to fraud or who's trying to defraud the firm will be responsible.
Agreed, sir. But ultimately, firm is may lose the business because of that particular employee or person's action.
Yes, that's why I totally agree. That will be the case. That's why we don't only rely on the annual confirmations. We do other procedures also.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Any other doubt? Any other doubt? Any other doubt? Nope. So this is how we identify. If no further doubts, what I propose is let's take a quick 10-minute break. After the break, we'll gather back and we'll continue the session. Okay? Let's take a quick 10-minute break. Now, we were discussing about the ethical requirements. Okay. With respect to the ethical requirements, we understood how to identify threats to fundamental principles. Now, the second part is that, okay, there are some things that we as a firm we need to perform to identify threat to fundamental principles. But other than that, if I talk about other than that, is there anything else that the firm is required to do? Like we were talking about one, communicated independence, second, identify threats, address and eliminate. Is there anything three or four? So answer is yes. Number three, mandatory rotation of senior personals, okay, after long time on same engagement. Can anyone tell me why this is required? Mandatory rotation of senior personals after long time on same engagement. Why do you think it is required? Anyone? Why do you think this is required? Mandatory rotation of senior personals. Very good, Yogesh. Yes, correct. Okay, Monica. Anyone else?
Uh, Actually, it is a practice even in banks also, to rotate the even entire staff so that they will not be more than generally 5 years. So same logic applies here also to see that the relations of the senior person with the client should not be that good that they can, ignore independence as an auditor.
Okay. Okay. Great. Yes. Anyone else? Correct, Jimmy. Correct, Sumit. So the biggest thing is a familiarity threat. Whenever senior personals are there over a long period of time on similar engagements, there's a chance that it becomes a familiarity threat. Okay. So to avoid that chance of familiarity threat, mandatory rotation is there. Now, this mandatory rotation evolved and there is a definite requirement. Definite requirement means for listed entities, okay, for listed entities, engagement partner should be rotated within 7 years. So, engagement partner should not continue on any engagement for more than 7 years. I will do a strict mark over there. Now, I'll tell you why. So, for listed entities, engagement partner can maximum do as a audit as an engagement partner for 7 years. Clear? Any doubt with this? Anyone having any question? I expect there should be some question on this one. There is one question. There should be one question.
Sir, suppose it is a sole proprietorship, firm, then what? Matlab, then there is, no question of familiarity. It's always familiar.
Absolutely. That's why there is a star mark. So when there is a sole proprietor, what will you do? From where you will bring another partner? In that case, this requirement, this rotation requirement is not applicable, but they are mandatorily covered in peer review. So a peer review is required when there is a sole proprietor. Compulsory, they shall be compulsory reviewed under the process of peer review. Okay, so when this rotation requirement is not applicable, but they mandatorily are covered in peer review when the firm is sole proprietorship. Okay, when the firm is a sole proprietorship, at that point in time, this requirement is not applicable. Now, reason because you cannot have another partner. Clear? Any doubt? Any doubt? Okay. So this was the requirement with respect to ethical requirement part. Okay, like these are the policies, procedures, systems that the firm should keep when it comes to the ethical requirements that we have discussed till now. Ethical requirements we are done with. Just let's go and quickly check it from the notes. The firm should establish policies and procedures designed to provide reasonable assurance. Everywhere there will be a reasonable assurance. Remember that in quality control. That personnel comply with the ethical requirement. Number one, each and every personnel should comply with the ethical requirement. And the emphasis should be on compliance with the fundamental principles. Okay, including leadership of the firm, education, training, monitoring, process for dealing non-compliance. We saw process for dealing non-compliance. Over and above, there is an independence requirement. That is a part of my ethical requirement. That the personnel and others who are subject to independence requirement in a firm, they should maintain the independence where required by the code. The firm should identify and evaluate circumstances, relationship that creates threat to the independence and eliminate those threats and reduce them to an acceptable level. Okay, so that is a requirement with respect to the ethical part. Now, let's take the next one as a human resource. I'll take human resource first. Now, what is required with respect to human resource? Why human resource is there? Can anyone tell me why human resource quality control is required in human resource? Why do we need quality control in human resource part? What is the need of that? Anyone?
To ensure that the personals which are there in our firm, they are actually performing the work, which is a professional kind work. So it is expected that they should know the professional standards and all the legal ethical requirements. And to ensure that while recruiting them, some criteria are decided as per the firm's policy, which will take into consideration their compensation, training, knowledge and experience and capabilities.
Absolutely correct. Yes. See, for a CA firm or for the firm, the biggest resource is the human resource. The primary resource is the human resource. The main capital is the human resource. Okay. Now, all the assignments, every engagement has personals in it. That's why human resource is the biggest area when it comes to quality control. Having correct people for the correct engagement at the correct time. Remember that these three things are very important. Okay, having correct people for the correct engagement at the correct time. So having correct people for correct engagement. Now what that means? Okay, having correct people for the correct engagement means they should possess necessary skills. Now this part covers from hiring to evaluation. Means that okay, I hired the correct people, I am monitoring the correct people. Evaluation is a performance evaluation, annual evaluations, whether they are doing good, not good, whether they are excellent. Okay, promotions, everything. Hiring, evaluation, till evaluation. Okay, which includes training, everything. Correct people for correct engagement at the correct time also is necessary. We will see time at the time of doing preparing audit plan. So let's say for example I need the resource at the time of, let's say, planning, but I don't have. I have at the time of execution, or I don't have. I have at the time of preparing the report. Okay, so if you have a correct person or correct people for the correct engagement, but not at the correct time, it's a problem. If you don't have a correct people, it's a problem. If you have a correct people at the correct time, but not on the correct engagement, again, it's a problem. So these three elements are necessary. Okay, and for that there is a requirement of quality control in the human resource. We will understand further by seeing a video. Just a minute. Okay, let's see the video.
Ms. Aishwarya is audit partner with extensive experience and a focus on quality control. Ms. Dia is audit manager responsible for drafting the firm's human resource policy.
Dia, thanks for preparing this draft of the HR policy. It's a crucial document for ensuring we meet the quality control requirements. I've reviewed it, and while it covers recruitment, promotion, and compensation, I think we need to expand its scope.
Really? I thought those were the most important areas to focus on. What else should be included?
We need to think on that.
What do you think should be added or should be part of HR policy as per the quality control requirements?
So what do you think additionally they should add to the policy? Now, if I go back, the current policy includes recruitment, promotion, and compensation. What do you think?
Training,
Okay, good. What else?
stress management,
Yes, great. Yes, yes, Jenny, very good. Anyone else? Yes, Yogesh, correct. Correct, Sumit. Anyone else? Anyone? Uh, Sorry, Rakesh. I think there's some. Can you rewrite your answer again?
Sir, it's a quality policy and mission statement should be included.
Okay.
So it will then
Okay.
that cover that ethical requirement portion also.
Okay. But specifically, I'm talking about as of now with respect to the human resource. Ethical leadership, there will be separate policies for that. Now we are talking about policy on human resource. Okay, Jimmy? Anyone else? Okay, let us see the video then.
What do you think should be added or should be part of HR policy as per the quality control requirements?
SQC 1, Quality Control for Firms that Perform Audits and Reviews. Strongly emphasizes having personnel with the right capabilities, competence, and ethical principles. We need to demonstrate how our HR policies support that.
As I said, not only recruitment promotion is there, but the policy should focus upon, having correct people for the correct engagement, that the personnel with the right capabilities, competencies, and ethical principles.
Right, so how can we achieve that?
We need to incorporate sections on performance evaluation, capabilities and competence, and career development.
So, by having performance evaluation, capabilities, or competencies, understanding the capabilities and competencies, career development, we will focus upon that. Okay, we are having correct people. We are having them. We are having them for the correct assignment. Let's say there is an assignment which is regarding the bank audit. Now, if I bring a guy who is fully experienced on the manufacturing audit, that guy on the bank audit, that is not relevant as with respect to his capabilities. He might be expert in the manufacturing audit, okay, but if I place a guy who is having tremendous experience in the bank audit into manufacturing audit, that is also wrong. Okay, so in that case, identifying the capabilities and competencies, performance evaluation, how they are doing annually, their career development should be part of your HR policy, human resource policy.
Could you provide more details on those aspects?
Of course. For performance evaluation, we need a system for providing regular feedback to our staff, not just during the annual review, but throughout the year. This helps with their development and allows us to identify any areas where they might need further training or guidance. This ties into capabilities and competence. We need to outline how we'll support our staff in developing and maintaining their skills. This could involve things like continuing professional education, in-house training programs, and mentoring initiatives.
So, by enhancing their capability and competency, we will ensure that they understand the requirements. Let's say someone is there, I place that person on the audit of a very regulated entity. Let's say it's a highly regulated entity. SEBI regulations are applicable, RBI regulations are applicable, 10 different regulations are applicable, highly regulated entity. Now, if that person doesn't understand the regulations, if that person doesn't understand the need of the regulation, requirement of the law, how he can do the audit? Like, if I don't understand what is required by the law, I will not be able to do the audit. Are you getting my point? So, in that case, it becomes imperative for the personnel even to understand, okay, what is the legal requirements, compliance with laws and regulations. And that's why we need to have in-house training program, professional educations, continuous professional educations, mentoring activities, and that should be covered as a part of human resource policy, so that we can ensure that even the personals are maintaining, are adhering to the quality requirements. Whenever they are doing the audit, they are maintaining the quality.
I see. So, it's not just about hiring the right people, but also about investing in their continuous development.
Exactly. And that brings us to career development and promotion. Our policy should clearly lay out the firm's expectations and provide a transparent path for advancement based on both performance and adherence to ethical principles.
Is there another critical aspect that the policy should address?
So whatever we have discussed, let's say performance evaluation, competency and capabilities, okay, mentoring activities, do you think there is any other area that the policy should address apart from this? Anyone?
Employees wellness, health related policy.
Yep. Okay, great. What else? Anyone else? Behavior with management. Oh, can you explain a bit more? Okay, good, Ginny. Okay, but again, when I talk about ethical requirements, integrity, it's a different part. We have already discussed that. Let's focus on the performance. Let's focus on the human resource only as of now.
Interpersonal relation within the firm.
Okay, great. Okay, okay, Monica, good. Anyone else? Anyone? Yogesh, yes, quality requirement, but what quality? What is the thing that we need or we should have in human resource policy? Let us see the answer. See, there could be 10 different things. My answer covers as of now one important thing. Okay, out of that. That doesn't mean that whatever correct answer we have discussed should not be part of that. Okay.
Precisely. And there's another critical aspect we need to address: procedures for assessing staff competence.
Procedures for assessing the staff competence. We discussed that, okay, we need to assess competence and capabilities, but how? That is also very important. I cannot go today, okay, you are not doing good, you are doing good. I just can, randomly say that, okay, you are doing good, you are not doing good at the end of the year or throughout the year. Let's say, for example, a person is doing, a lot of audit, a lot of quality work, but at the end, and I go, you are not going good. So, what is the evaluation that we are required to do as per, there should be a way of the evaluation also.
Could you clarify that further?
SQC1 requires us to have a formal method for evaluating our staff's understanding of professional standards, their technical knowledge, their ability to apply judgment, and their awareness of our firm's quality control policies.
So, we need a way to objectively assess whether our staff possess the necessary skills and knowledge to perform their roles effectively.
Exactly. This could involve a combination of approaches, such as reviews of their work on engagements, observations of their performance in team settings, and even periodic testing or questionnaires.
Okay, I understand now. I'll revise the policy to include these elements.
Ms. Aishwarya is audit.
So that was, with respect to the human resource policy, that it was prepared and then it was discussed between a partner and the manager. So as we discussed that, there should be a formal way. There should be something in a formalized way with respect to evaluation of the performance also. Now let's summarize whatever we saw in that video. Sorry. Let's summarize whatever we saw in that particular video. Okay. So when it comes to the human resource policy, the important part here is that who needs to establish it. Again, when I talk about policies and procedures, we'll go to who, what, and why. So first part is who. Who is involved in this, or who needs to establish that policy? So this,
CEOs and managing partners of the firm.
yes, absolutely. So firm, I will write firm because at the end, ultimate responsibility goes to the CEO and the managing partner. The firm should establish that policy. Policy and procedure, okay, that should provide, and why they should establish, reason because that should provide reasonable assurance, that should provide reasonable assurance that the firm, okay, that the firm, or that it has sufficient personals, or the firm has sufficient personals with the capability, competency, and commitment to the ethical principles. Means the firm has the correct people, okay, correct people, then necessary to perform its engagement for the correct engagement in accordance with the professional and regulatory requirements, okay, and to enable the firm and engagement partner to issue reports that are appropriate in the circumstances. And when you can issue the reports, when you have correct people for the correct engagement at the correct time. So the firm should provide, or the firm should establish policies and procedures, okay, to provide reasonable assurance that it has sufficient personals with the capabilities, competency, and commitment to ethical principles. Now this part, I call it having correct people. Then commitment to the ethical principles. Now again, we need to understand when we require this commitment, when we require these personals. So the second or third part, or the third element is when we require a commitment or personal, when we need necessary to perform, the engagements in accordance with professional standards. Okay, professional standards, regulatory law, or law or regulatory requirements. Okay, so when it is necessary to perform the engagement in accordance with professional standards, law, and regulatory requirement, which is every time, I don't know an engagement where I'm not required to perform as per the law or professional standards. When I say professional engagement, when I say engagement, it has to be performed every time. So necessary to perform the engagement in accordance with the professional standards, law and regulatory requirement, which is every time. Okay. At that point in time, I need sufficient personnel. So you can say this area covers having correct people for my correct engagement. Having correct people for my correct engagement. So we understood who is required, firm. Why? Reasonable assurance. When? For correct engagement. And what they want to achieve with that. What they want to achieve with that. What is the end goal? The end goal is to, enable the firm, or engagement partners to issue the audit report, that are appropriate. Are you getting the point? To issue the audit report that are appropriate. Now, understand one thing. Audit report that are appropriate can only be issued when you have a correct people for the correct engagement, again, at the correct time. Then only you can issue audit report that are appropriate in the circumstances. So this is the requirement with respect to the human resource. We broke up the who, why, when, and what. Clear? Any doubt? Any doubt?
Sir,
Yes.
this last point where you are saying that it should enable firm to issue an audit report that are appropriate. This particular point should be covered under SA 220, na sir? And we are talking about SQC one here, not specific about audit only.
Yeah, see, when I say audit report here, okay, in general sense, I'm talking about all the reports, not only audit report, but okay, your point is taken. It should not be only audit report, it should be all the reports. To issue all the reports that are appropriate. Basically, when I meant audit report, it is basically all the assurance related reports or the reports that the firm issue. Any further doubts? Any doubts till now? Any doubts with respect to whatever we had discussed in the human resource? Okay. If no further doubts, now the last part and very important part of human resource is how to achieve that. How? Okay, we understood what, when, why. Okay, everything we understood. How? We are required to have policies and procedures, but how to make those policies and procedures? What is, what should be the detail of those policies and procedures? How to design those policies and procedures? What are the key elements that should be there in those policies and procedures? Okay. how is important. And that how we need to understand. Now, there are some elements which are part of this how, or there are some areas that are, like how to make those policies and procedures that explain. So the first one is your assignment of engagement teams. So we should have policies and procedures on how to assign engagement teams. Assignment of engagement teams. Second is engagement performance. So how to monitor engagement performance. Okay. Then next part is with respect to consultations. Okay. So again, consultation is an important part when it comes to the your performance evaluation and performance of what you say personals. So whether they are consulting when they required or not. Let's say there is a personnel. Okay, there is a staff. That staff, needs some help with respect to some of the area. Now, that is part of my mentoring activities that we just now saw in the video. Consultations. So whether he's consulting expert, whether he's consulting the engagement partners, whether he's consulting the third party, expert third party or something, or another partner in the firm, so that he can have an understanding of the, the subject matter which is there. Let maybe regulatory requirement, maybe some law, maybe some compliance. Okay, so whether that consultation is being performed or not. So that next element is consultations. So how means we need to decide or we need to make policies on these areas at least, or we need to have procedures for these areas. Okay, so that uh, you know uh, the employees or personals can have or understand basically any issues, or they can have opinion on the issues where they are not clear. That includes difference of opinion also. Okay, so how this is the three steps or three critical parts of how. Any doubt till now? Any doubt? Any doubt? No. Out of this engagement performance, out of this we will see separately engagement performance. Okay, engagement performance and consultants, consultations we will see separately. So this will be discussed particularly separately also as an core element of the quality control. But let's understand first now assignment of the engagement teams. Okay, so what is required to be done when it comes to the assignment of the engagement teams? First of all, tell me who is responsible when it comes to the engagement team, like which resources are required to be taken for engagements. Who is responsible for that?
Engagement leader, team leader.
Okay, and who usually is the engagement leader or team leader?
Generally, the management at a top level is involved in decisions like who will be the team members.
Okay, Very good, Jenny. Yes, correct. Correct, Sumit. So usually when I talk about, who is the responsible for the engagement team allocations, it is the engagement partner. Engagement partner is responsible for having the correct resources at the correct time for the correct engagement. Okay. So he is the responsible to have correct people. Okay. Now, when I make engagement partner responsible, he has to identify, he has to identify that who are the key members of the team, to identify the key members of the team and to allocate the responsibility. So let's say I'm an engagement partner. I will decide, okay, you are manager, you will review all these things. You are two people, like, okay, one is senior manager or one is assistant manager or one is senior associate or associate. I will ask them, okay, you will do testing of these areas, you will do testing of these areas. I will give more complex areas to more experienced people. Okay. I will make sure that, complex areas are reviewed appropriately, properly, complex matters are reviewed properly. So I will do the allocation of responsibilities as an engagement partner. I will identify who are the key members for this particular team, their allocation, their time involvement, time resources, everything. And this responsibility in this particular part should be there in the policies and procedures. That's engagement partner is responsible to identify key team members. This should be part of the policy. So when I talk about quality control with respect to the firm, this particular should be part of the policies and procedure. Okay. This should be part of the policies and procedures that yes, engagement partner responsible to identify key members and to allocate responsibilities. Clear? Any doubt? Any doubt? No? Okay, great, great. Okay. So that was with respect to the human resource. As I said, engagement, performance, and consultations we will take separately because that is also a separate core element with respect to the quality control. I will explain separately. Okay. When I say, performing the engagement correctly, that is the engagement performance. How to perform the engagement correctly, that should be also there in the policy. We will discuss in detail that part also. That includes the consultation again. Let's go to the notes and just quickly go through the notes. So, human resource. The firm should establish policies and procedures to provide with the reasonable assurance that it has sufficient personnel with capabilities, competency, commitment to the ethical principles necessary to perform its engagement in accordance with professional standards, regulatory and legal requirements, and that to enable the firm or engagement partner to issue reports that are appropriate in the circumstance. Means when I talk about this part, sufficient personnel with capabilities, competency, and commitment, that is the correct people, to perform its engagement for the correct engagement. Okay. So that enable the firm or partners to issue the reports at the correct time so that you can issue the report. Correct people, correct engagement, correct time to issue the report. This is the human resource part. Any doubt? Any doubt with respect to human resource that we discussed? Any doubt, guys? No? No doubt? Okay. If no further doubts, then I propose to keep the session till here today because of my bad throat. I'm really sorry for that. In the next session, what I will be doing is I will be discussing the rest of the parts of the quality control. That is acceptance, continuance, and client relationship, engagement, quality control review, monitoring, and documentation, along with the engagement performance. Secondly, I will also take up the SA220 on the similar lines. Once you understand the SQC, just you need to apply the same thing at the engagement level. Trust me, if you understand the SQC, you will be easily able to understand the SA220. Clear? But I have one small request. Next lecture, I will be taking, I will be extending a bit because, I will be covering SA220 also and this part also. So please read in advance. I will also, discuss in detail, but please read in advance the rest of the part of the SQC 1 and SA220 so that whenever we are discussing, you are able to understand the topic. Clear? Okay, guys. If no further doubts, no further queries, then thank you. Thank you very much for joining the sessions and apologies for closing it soon. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much. Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you, Ashok.
Thank
Good night.
you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.